Alright, first and foremost, I want to give all honors and praises and glory belongs to my Lord and Savior, whose name is Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Wahavakar Kodash. The name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh. His Son's name is Yahweh Shai, in who I reverence, and honors to the elder apostles that taught me this truth, and to the hopeful elect across the globe, and to the few, the very few brothers and sisters listening and also learning in the hopes of being saved within these last days. This lesson is going to be called Strive to Enter into the Straight Gate, for many prefer the wide. Okay, because the straight is what difficult. We're going to start with Luke, before we go into Luke 13, okay, we start with Ecclesiastes 4 and 9, because we know there's a brotherhood, you have a body, you have men around you as a support system. Quickly go to Ecclesiastes 4 and 9, because we know the scripture says 2 are better than 1. So we know that, right? And where 2 or 3 are gathered, Yahweh Shai is in the midst thereof, because they have a good reward for their labor. Okay? For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. See, you have that support. But woe unto him that is alone when he falleth, because it's going to be harder. You may not have no one there, for he that have not another to help him up. Again, if 2 lie together, then they have heat. Okay? It may be a cold. You may be outside homeless, it may be cold. But if 2 are walking together, there's some heat there. There's more friction. But how can one be warm alone? Because it's just you. And if 1 prevail against him, what, Satan, 2 shall withstand him. Because you got another brother what to back you. And threefold cord is not quickly broken. Right? So if you have a chain, like a chain, you have 3 or 4 cords, it's not broken easily. But we just have 1 or 2 cords, that chain could break easy. So we do know there's a brotherhood. Okay? And there's men around you. But remember, this is a straight gate. Okay? Let's go to Luke 13. And we're going to start at 22. Okay? And he went through the cities, this speaking of Yahweh Shai, and the villages, teaching and journeying toward Jerusalem. Then said one unto him, Lord, Yahweh Shai, are there few that be saved? And he said unto them, strive to enter into the straight gate. So even Yahweh Shai was saying this, strive, contend, fight to enter into that straight gate. Because the world is a broad gate. Okay, and we're going to go into that word straight. Let's see what comes up.
Strong's G 4728 stenos.
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 Here we go. Narrow, straight, from obstacles. This is going to be obstacles. You're in a straight gate. Of course there's going to be challenges, because you're in a straight gate. Right? You're in the world, well, what are you really going through? You could be suffering, but you could just be suffering in the world. Right? So strive to enter into that straight gate. Position of what? Difficulty is narrow. Right? It's like you have to squeeze in. For many, I say unto you, will seek, many will seek to enter in, and shall not be able to. And you're going to have that people that try to come in, and seek to get in, but they're not going to be able. Right? Many can't just fit in this one gap, this one space. Once the master of the house is risen up and have shut the door, and he's going to rise what? With them chariots, and have shut the door and begin to stand without and to knock at the door saying, Lord, Lord, you have a shout. So you're going to have men that know the name. But what were they doing? Open unto us, and he shall answer and say unto you, I know you not. Whence ye are? When shall ye begin to say, we have eaten and drunk in thy presence, and hast taught in our streets? So you're even going to have those that were teaching in the streets, but Yahweh never chose them to be of the elect. But he shall say, I tell you, I know you not whence ye are. Depart from me, all ye workers of iniquity. So it lets you know, because they were working some form of iniquity. Okay. This is a narrow gate. This ain't a thing of the world. And there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth when they shall see Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all the prophets in the kingdom of the Most High, and you yourselves thrust out. And they shall come from the east, from the west, and from the north, and from the south, and shall sit down in the kingdom of the Most High, because our people are scattered. And behold, there are last which shall be first. So what last? We be considered last now. The hopeful elect will be considered last now. But in the kingdom, you're going to be first. And there are first shall be what? Last. Okay. The Lord ain't dealing with the many, the many multitude, the world. Okay. So now we went into that. Exodus 23:2. It says, "Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil." You don't follow the multitude. The multitude is many. So the multitude would represent what? The broad gate. Okay, to do evil. Just because everybody else is doing it around you, it doesn't mean it's right. You would think it is because everybody else is doing it. Neither should I speak in a cause to decline after many, to wrest judgment. Okay. Neither should I countenance a poor man in his cause. If thou meets thy enemy's ox in his ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it to him again. Your enemy would be a brother in his truth you don't really get along with. Consider your enemy. But the scripture says, because you see his ox going missing, you don't just look at it, well, now that's my enemy, I'm not going to say anything. No. You grab the ox and you bring it to him. Right? Because that's going to be what? A curse upon him. It's going to be a blessing for you. See, character, you see. If thou see the arse of him that hateth thee. So if I was to see an arse or a dog, your dog's gone missing, lying under his burden, I would just forbear to help him. Right? So if it's lying under a particular burden, he's struggling, thou shalt surely help him. You help him out. Okay? See, this also deals with character. But the main thing was what the premise is. Don't follow a multitude to do evil because everybody else is doing it. Right? Everybody else is sold out. Well, you going to sell out as well? Huh? This is where the separation what begins. The Lord is making that separation. Right? Quickly go to Matthew's. I think it's Matthew's 10 or 12. The Lord Yahushua is making that separation. Matthew 10 and 34. Oh, 32. Whosoever there shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. This is about confessing Yahushua. Not getting caught up in the multitude of what everybody else is doing. Confess Yahushua. You confess Yahushua, he's going to confess you. Look, this is my servant. But whosoever shall deny me before men, him also will I deny before my Father which is in heaven. A lot of men that claim to be the truth, they've already denied Yahushua. They've already X'd out Yahushua. So they're going to be what? Denied. Okay, in heaven. They're not going to be on that first go around, that first resurrection. Because they have it here. Their rulership is now. We don't want it now, we want it when Yahushua comes. Think not I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send us peace but a sword. And a sword is to divide. So that's what Yahushua came to do, to divide. Right? To make a separation. Who's for him, who's not for him. And those that are not for him, well, what do you think is going to happen to them? It's a very, very narrow path. Let's go to 2 Ezra 7 and 8. But I need to get a new apocrypha because the pages are all missing. And that's good. That shows you're using it good. Let's go to 2 Ezra 7. View most of the chapter. We start at 2 Ezra 7 and 1. And when I had made an end of speaking these words, there was sent unto me the angel which had been sent unto me the nights before. And the angel would always sup with his prophets. And he said unto me, Up, Ezra, hear the words that I come to tell thee. And I said, Speak on, my power. Then said he unto me, The sea is set in a wide place, that it might be deep and great. But put the case, the entrance were narrow, So you've got to image this. You've got the sea, and you've got the case. The case would be what the walking, where you're walking upon, and the entrance were narrow and like a river, right? So the entrance to that is very narrow, difficult to get in, to get to the sea. Who then can go into the sea to look upon it and to rule it, right? If he went not through the narrow, how could he come into the broad? And to every river leads to a sea. You do know the rivers are connected to the seas, you know that, right? So to get to the sea, you would need to go through the river, and the river would be what? The narrow. Okay, and that's what the position, that's that what tribulation. There is also another thing, and that's why you can't get discombobulated when other men, okay, may talk about what you're going through, and they may not be going through it. Why? Because they're on that broad path. So don't be bedazzled by what everybody else thinks. It's your journey. Okay? There is another thing. A city is builded and set up on a broad field and is full of good things, would be indicative of what the kingdom, which we want to get to, right? And the entrance thereof is narrow, difficult, and is set in a dangerous place to fall, right? Like as if there were a fire on the right hand and on the left deep water. So the fire there's on the right hand, and you're going to picture this. You're on a narrow path and you see fire on the right, one side, and on the left hand side there's deep water. You can fall in that fire, get burnt. You can fall in that water and drown, right? And sometimes you're going to fall, but the Lord's going to have it where he gets you out of that fire, gets you out of them deep waters, right? But that shows you what? How narrow this is. Okay, so there's trouble on what? Each side. And only one path between them both. One path. So you're looking straight forward. If you look backwards, you might even fall. You can't look to the left, you can't look to the right. Right? And it's set in a dangerous place to fall. They want to fight on right hand deep on the water. And one path between them both, even between the fire and the water. So small, that there could but one man go there at once. One man. So it's one at a time. It's not that there's no one in front of you or behind you. They're in front and they're behind, but it's 1 minute at a time. The man in front of you may fall to the right or to the left. What are you gonna do? You got to walk straight on. Okay. If this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, if he shall never pass the danger set before it. So first, before you even get to that destination, you would have to pass the danger set before it first. And a lot of men, they don't want to do that because they just want it given to them. The scripture, through much tribulation. How shall he receive this inheritance if he didn't go before the danger that was set before him? And I said, is it so, Lord? Then he said unto me, even so also is Israel's portion. Because for their sakes I made the world, and when Adam transgressed my statutes, then was the decree, now is done, things were made difficult. Through what one man sinned. Then were the entrances of this world made narrow, full of sorrow, travail. They are but few and evil, full of perils and very painful. This is what we're going through. For the entrance of the elder world were made wide and sure, and brought a mortal fruit. Okay, but through sin, that's what got us on this difficult path. Through sin. Okay. Is there anything else? I can't believe, hold on, that's it already. Okay, so we read that chapter, so this shows you, yes, it's a very, very narrow path. There ain't always going to be a brother that you could ring up, that you can hold you want him to hold your hands. No. It's about growing personally, a personal relationship, so you can be strong. That's what the disciples were teaching. That's what Yahushua was teaching. You're going to have the brotherhood. Make sure you're strong when they're not around. Because a lot of men, they put on an act during the weekends. They can speak good. They can speak really good, very intellectual. But when they're by themselves, they fold. They don't have that same energy. You got to have that same energy when you're not around brothers. That same energy. Galatians 6 and 2. Bear ye one another's burdens. So this is what we do. Okay, through the words. And so fulfill the law of Mashiach. If you're doing that, you're fulfilling the law. That's you loving your brother. For if any man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. And it ain't that we're nothing, but it's those that wake up to this truth and they think there's something when they're nothing. Remember, we're wretched. Anything we know is because of Yahweh Shai. Right? So if you think you know something and you really don't know nothing, that's when you deceive yourself. But let every man prove his own work. So what are we doing? Proving our own work. I can't label with another man and say, well, I'm just going off what I'm piggybacking on what he's done. No, because that's not going to work, is it? That's his work. That's not your work. That's his work. You may have been a part of it, but that's his work. It's his relationship. And then he shall rejoice in himself, because you knew what you had to do to get to the point where you were, alone and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden. Let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth in all good things. Okay, so part of bearing our brother's burden is also communicating through what these electronical epistles also. So we shut off on this Philippians 2 and 12, Babakasha. Yes, wherefore my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, you've always obeyed, yeah? Okay, not as in my presence only. I didn't say not as only in my presence, because you're always in Yahweh's presence, but his presence is more known when 2 or 3 are gathered there. So he's saying, not just when you're at camp, but much more in my absence. It's not that he's absent, it's just that he's less absent when you're not at camp, because where 2 or 3 are gathered, he is there. And the angels, but now much more in my absence, when no one else is looking, when the brother can't keep an eye on you. Okay, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Fear and trembling. Because Yahweh Shai, the angels are still watching you. Do you believe that? As I'm speaking right now, as I'm doing this lesson, I believe there's angels around watching me. Okay, whatever you're doing, whether it be good, whether it be bad. So what is that called? Fear and trembling. Okay, and the fear of the Lord Yahweh Shai is the beginning of wisdom. So with this lesson, I really hope this was edifying, and yes, this is a very, 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 very straight gate. Okay? Until the next time, Shalom.